And even after I pushed the wrong buttons, we are now live. Trying to figure out who I was now covering because I had a picture of the Emperor up because Mr. Crowley was going to be either right before or a little after. And I know that shuffles everyone around. He does it to me because he hates me. That would be Mr. Crowley in the bottom. That would be right underneath me is Sean Rice, where he belongs. And over here, that's Mr. Brian Horton. How's everybody doing today?
Why do I belong underneath Sean?
No, Sean belongs underneath me where he lives.
Oh. Yeah. He's
okay.
Just like
always
in
your shadow.
Yep, just like just pushing me down.
How's everybody feeling today after a big weekend?
I mean, I worked all weekend, so you guys got to play fun and games.
Motivated for the future.
Rested. I finally got to sleep, so that was awesome.
Oh yeah, I went to bed at 8 o'clock, man. It felt great.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, except for the fact that Georgia and Ohio are not super close to each other, and I live at the top of the state.
Ooh.
So we drove far.
Far.
So how do you guys feel after the weekend? How do you guys feel about well, you know what? We're going to do 2 things, 3 things, 4 things amongst our weaponry of things we're going to talk about tonight. How did you feel faction-wise? Let's start with that. Let's talk about where the factions are in a team tournament specifically.
GSC, I feel, are far simpler to play than they were in 9th edition, and I feel like their power level is a little too high because of it. They do have bad matchups, but I don't think that those bad matchups are very easy to leverage effectively in singles in a world where Eldar exists. So, yeah, I feel like they were very powerful.
For the Custodes, I feel like I had this notion that you play them well and then you try to roll 4-ups, and turns out that's what you got to do. You live and die by the 4-up, baby.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
So, Brad, how'd it feel running Orcs?
Orcs are OP, baby. Can't be stopped. MVP of the weekend, the mech, who I never deployed and realized after my game 6 that I had an extra model that I probably should have used.
It was so impactful, he didn't even need it.
I did make him +1, or I made the truck. It would have been super cool to have an extra guy, though, you know, blocking things out, maybe stopping people from crushing me on charges, you know. But look, I didn't want to have so much of an OP army, so I didn't have to use everybody. Also, everyone, it's 10 Gretchen plus a runner, just letting you know in case you were wondering about that too. Because I also
that's a little bit of a thing.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, that may have been important for 1 round.
It was fairly important for 1 round. Right about the time when I took 10 wounds, it was like, man, that sucks. Here comes the Incarn. And then Wyvern's like, hey man, just letting you know, you have 1 more guy. I'm like, that's information I could have used 5 turns ago.
I will say this is my first year playing a competitive faction, and playing the competitive faction into all of the counter competitive factions is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
So what did you end up playing for all your games, Crowley? Because as a GSE player myself, just curious.
I'm not going to remember this specifically round by round. I played into CSM, which was really interesting build. There's a lot of blast weapons there that do a lot of work when they're blasting.
I think CSM can spike so high, dude. It's not an army that I think is going to win the GT because it does have things can play into it. But man, that army is the army that it may not win the GT, but it sure as hell might make you not win the GT because it hits hard.
I admit I stat checked him a bit, and I thought I was going to do more damage than I did, and then his obliterators came out of Deep Strike, and then he just mulched 3 units like accidentally and hit my home base, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in danger," and I managed to pull it out with some clever use of game mechanics.
Hold on, we got Lyle coming over the super chat for $5. He goes, "Weekend takeaway: having people roll 6s against me is OP. We need to ban 6s."
Yes.
Dear rock,
You know,
paper is overpowered. Sincerely,
Tell you the
Jimmy.
truth, I could get down with that.
Oh yeah.
I played against a Tyrannid list that was fantastically built to be able to counter GSC, and he held me to a 12-8, which was really, really good on his part. Brad played that fantastically. I played into the GSC mirror, which I found that if you don't have a Clamavis is a real bad time. Recommend having a Clamavis at all times. I played into Eldar, which was my hard counter that I just had a really easy time. He didn't leave his corner. He was very sad about that. And I played another game that I'm not oh, and I played against 2 Necron players. And for some reason, Brad thinks that I hard counter Necrons, but I don't.
I didn't say. I actually never said that. I may have psyched you up for saying that, but I definitely didn't think it.
Hey, if you drop 4 squads of Neophytes, get the bikes to do the mortals, use 2 demolition charges on 2 saboteurs after hitting them with the saboteur 6-up, and pop the grenade strat, you might kill 1 squad of 10 Lich Guard. It was exactly to the man, and if I hadn't done it, I would have been in severe regret mode at that point.
Playmaker coming in with their super chat for $9.99. Weekend takeaway 2. Rolling 6s is really good. See? Counterpoint.
I'm wondering if Michael and Lyle played each other.
I can't. Sorry. Every time I see Eloise type something with we, I just got.
Yeah, Eloise came over to my game against Nick, in which Nick had killed all of my squads, and my entire backfield was just literally all of my squads popping out of the seams. And I still, even after getting tabled twice, managed to score max secondaries and only dropped 7 points on primary total.
GSC are a real fair army.
I think he literally killed over 220 Neophytes that game, and I still had 3 squads on the table at the end of the game.
Not even GSC can effectively deal with GSC.
I know. It was just.
So they get one guy, hold me back. That's all it is.
What do you now? We had obviously my orcs. I'll talk about my orcs afterwards. Let's talk about somebody that I gave the best of times and the worst of times to. Mr. Shad Rice, how did you feel about your games over the weekend? Because there was a couple times when I was like, this is smooth sailing for Mr. Rice. And then there was some other times where I was like, hey, figure it out, Bieber. Do it up.
That's, for all you watching, that's not an exaggeration. Sometimes Brad just looked at me and went, you're losing this one. Good luck. And that's all I got to work with.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Honestly, it really is. Let's see. I played Black Templars first. Black Templars are not as good at hand-to-hand as Custodies were, and that went about as we expected. I played Eldar twice, Deathwatch once, and Eldar was a mixed result. I won one 19-1, and I lost one 17-3. And you can tell where I rolled the 4-ups, just being perfectly honest. I used all my 4-ups in one game, and then I didn't have any left for the other one.
And that's what I always tell you. Space them out, Sean. Come on. Don't go all
There's
in.
a middle ground.
That is,
Brian,
that
don't
is
go
my
painting
regret.
right now. This is not Thursday. You're not allowed to hobby on stream on Monday.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Who lets those people
I have to
in?
get these guys painted. I mean, it's inevitable.
It is not inevitable. I'm trying to figure.
How about you, Brad? Talk about your games.
I had to figure out what the hell I played first. I was looking to see what the hell I did, but I'm like,
Brad
wait,
played Bacardi in round 1, and then
Nah.
wine in round 2, and then
I
vodka
played,
in
I
round
played,
3.
I played
And then
Necrons.
taco in round 4.
Oh, tacos are so good.
Those
I
tacos
look
are
over and he's
fucking fire.
we haven't eaten that day, and Brad just got tacos, and I'm like, we're in the middle of the round. How did you get tacos? And he said, I'm Brad, baby. And then he went back to his game, and I went, okay, yeah, sure.
A clear
that is
and
Brad.
exquisite answer.
Yeah, I played Necrons in round 1. What did we even play round 2? That's where I am on that one.
Round 2 was the end of day 1. That was when I played the Eldar player. And you guys all abandoned.
Oh,
By
yeah.
the way, team events need to have a team charter, and on that team charter, it says if you're going to make your teammate play the 200 fucking model list, you're not allowed to bail on him and go to dinner because fuck you.
Okay, this is a real story. I'll continue with my games in a minute, but so Crawley shows up to the restaurant and literally just reads me the riot act, and I go, "Oh, I kind of thought one of the other guys grabbed you." So we had all basically took off and went to a restaurant while Crawley was still playing. And he's just like, what the fuck, guys?
I literally walked up to Brad and I came up to him and I did this and I said, Brad, if you ever bail on me for dinner again in a team event, I'm conceding and giving them the 020. That is a promise, not a threat. Literally, there's nothing more demoralizing than finishing your game and your opponent has his whole team like rallied around him, all like hyping him up, and you look to your right and your entire team's just fucking gone and left the building and said fuck your couch.
But in a good way. In a good way.
They're like, your team had faith in you that you were going to be able to hold it down, and I'm like, what is happening?
But in good news, Sean and I were talking about you while we were driving to the restaurant about your game
so
and how you were doing. And then we just laughed.
I am so grateful that you were so considerate
Also,
to think about me while you were going to get tacos without me and alcohol.
Your biggest supporter, Corey Gullich, has one for us. So I have some advice for next year. 1, do better. 2, replace Crawley with a koala. He will probably have the same record, but at least be cute.
Ouch! Dang.
Ow.
It's okay. Corey's going to take my spot as said koala next year.
I kind of want a koala, but we had such a everything with a little meh Saturday morning. I played against Death Watch. What did I play against Friday night though? What team did we play?
We played the team.
We played. I played night set round, so I got to play Hunter, my good buddy Hunter Nichols.
It was Hunter's team. That's right.
Yeah. And that was one you looked at me and went, "You're playing knights on the empty table." And I went, "You have a lot of confidence in me." And he went, "Nope."
I go, no. I did get all the other pairings I wanted, so I was like,
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta throw Sean out as bait. Just reel in the rest of the armies. So we had 4 excellent matchups, and well, Sean.
And Hunter got vengeance, and vengeance he did claim.
Yes. So, oh God, you know what? We're gonna back up on that. You know why I can't remember Friday? Because the air wasn't on in the building.
Oh.
So
Oh,
Friday
my God.
was
I heard that
sultry. It was so unbelievably hot and sweaty.
Do you have the meme for the dude who's like sweating like bullets? Because that was literally all of us across that entire table.
Yeah, exactly.
And I heard that. I messaged Tom and was like, dude, kind of glad we're not at ATC. He's like, why? And I'm like, the AC's not on. He goes, oh, screw that.
It was bonkers town. Like there's just so many people playing like almost naked, basically. I love Snigs put up with that for about 8 seconds and immediately had his shirt off and shoot.
Bro, Team Texas came over and like the dude was wearing like the whole outfit and literally he had stripped to nothing but his overalls. And I was like, God, I wish I was on Team Texas right now.
That was hot.
He goes, I sacrificed myself several times for the team. I discovered I do not have the temperament for it. He was not super excited to take bad things. Exactly, Corey goes, what happened to Brad? I never get hot Chester. That's how hot it was. It wasn't just hot. It was miserably humid. It was just, hey man, let me swim over to my table.
Well, it was like what, 100 degrees outside?
105, I think.
105. Yep.
That is insanity.
For the purpose, it's normally it can be a lot of times warm in a game room just because they have the air conditioning on, but there's too many bodies. When they don't have the air conditioning on and there's that many bodies in a room, oh boy.
So we got
That's the one nice thing I can say about my event. We had really good air conditioning.
yes,
You
we
had
did.
really good.
Exactly, that is true. Sniggs did call the judge and go, "Hey, man, I'm gonna take my
Oh.
shirt off. This is happening," kind of thing. So we started the day off with Tundra Tactics on day 2. I ended up getting Oliver's Death Watch, and I really thought, because we knew actually that was the team that we thought we had the worst pairings of in the entire field as far as matchups. And I
Yep.
thought we got about as good as we were going to get, and I had really high hopes. And we lost a game by 1. Ugh, just that hurt. And we came very close on that one. It was one of those games where everybody left a couple points here and there, and it just added up. So we had a lot of games. I ended up beating up on the Death Watch a little bit. Oliver basically went, "I'm not super favored in this match. I will just basically make your life super miserable and block everything off for multiple turns.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we both don't have a good time, it's a good time." So I was like, and then we bounced into Pajama's team and rocked that out. And I really liked our pairings in there. I was surprised at that. I had to actually, they came up to me afterwards because they were like, "We thought you were going to do this." I'm like, I was 100% going to do this. But also, Pajama sees into my soul. So I had to do something else. And I flipped the script on that. And
The CSM player just didn't want to play me, which was unfortunate because he beat Roland, so I felt like I needed justice. And he said, "Fuck your couch."
And the thing is that list is scary, man. We were talking about that. I think,
Yeah.
like I said, I think that CSM is one of the most underrated, just because of the fact that I don't know if they'll be consistent over entire tournaments. But man, that list can spike damage like no one's business. So every team, but not all of your team, but most of the teams brought counters, like hard counters, so Death Watch, trying to get it a GSC counter, things of that nature. And I felt we played around there fairly well on
I
that.
agree.
And then we got, who the hell did we played? Jonas's team at the end of Saturday, and I played against Thousand Suns. And sometimes what you got to do is go first and just YOLO swaggins. He unfortunately realized right in the middle of the game, he went, "I really needed to put these." He put these Terminators in reserve, and I went, "Cool, I'm going to run as fast as humanly possible at you before those Terminators can come back down." Also, Magnus looked like Sauron, just wrecking my army. One wound Magnus just was sweeping Moses through the Red Sea, just ruining my army.
Sir, the Green Sea.
The Green Sea, the Green Tide, my friend.
Wow.
So, but I felt that Saturday was a really good day for us. Like we had really tough opponents, and I felt we talked to each other really well about everything, and we had played all those matchups, and we kept out of bad things, which is more important than getting the best matchups, is staying out of the shit, basically, you know what I mean? Where we don't have just a terrible, except for Sean, no one cares about him though. But we just no, but like everything that Sean has with Custodes though, Custodes can spike up. I mean, 4-ups are 4-ups, you know what I mean? So like there's a difference between getting a bad match that shit can still go well for you and get a bad match where you're just like, "Hey, I don't get a save." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Like literally, you can just win games in Custodes just by rolling
Yep.
4s. A
Yeah,
Custodes
and-
player cannot lose a game if they roll every single 4-up.
And everybody out there should know that that was our reasoning with the list. Is we got it in a way where, you know, maybe you shouldn't take that specific list to singles, but also it has such good mission play just built in with all the slightly smaller squads that I was just able to score and keep up even when I'm getting shot, 10 times by a Wraith Knight in a game.
I mean, and I actually really liked the orc. So we'll talk about the last game in a minute, but like I was able to put up so many points, like no matter, all the time with just randomly. I think I got my low score on secondaries. I think it was 37.
Wow.
It just has so much trash. The shock jump and the two storm boys, the Gretchen, and the war bikes, and just a bunch of crap. And I just accidentally take shit because my whole thing is just to basically be very aggressive. It's not just YOLO swagging in the middle or the open, but like I'm just pushing towards objectives. So it's just easy to extend battle lines and tempting target and things of that nature. Area denial. I was just scoring those so well, even when I was getting my army picked up, which happened on day 3. So we played Art of War. If we win, we win. We had to win though, because if they tied, they win. So we went on that, and I thought that if I pulled the Eldar out, we would have a much better chance of getting a spike up on that. So I took a little bit of chance in that one. I still like what I did. I would do it again, to be honest with you. And then letting the Incarn show up in my backfield seemed like a bad thing. And then I made one bad move. And then I proceeded to play an amazing game for myself. Go Brad. After I was stupid though. So what you got to do is do something really dumb and then psych yourself up after that with an 80s montage video and then play through it.
So what did you do really dumb?
Not remembering that I had a run herd with it. So basically he did 10 wounds, and I would have still had a guy there and not had the Incarn back in my backfield doing some dances, because that dude was just ruining my soul. But also I should have had him on the board in the first place. I measured everything else, precise, exactly where I want to be, spent a lot of time measuring, and then just went, I'm pretty sure the Gretchen are out of range. And that's when Brad realized he fucked up, because they were not out of range, and he put a bombing on them. So it's just small things, though. I talk about that all the time. 40K is just a snowball game. You make a mistake and shit just really goes downhill after that. I made a lot of plays because I was just playing for secondaries, and I think we spent the entire game, first 3 turns, just high rolling each other. Oh, it was fantastic. So all you gotta do is he rolled a bunch of 6s for mortals with Wraith Knight, and I just kept rolling 4-ups for Field Pains, and it was fantastic.
Nice. So what was your largest takeaway from the weekend overall, guys? Because with it being a team's event, with it being fairly early in the edition, what was everyone's thoughts on the edition, where you feel like the tournament seems headed? We'll start with Crawley.
Ooh. So I think that Eldar and GSC are definitely outliers. After getting a significant number of games with GSC, there are very easy ways to mitigate their plan, but the regeneration is just far and above a problem. Now, I think that the cool thing is that there are a lot of factions that can deal with that and play with that, but there's too many gotchas built into the faction. One of my biggest problems this weekend was not giving people negative play experiences that didn't have practice partners with GSC, because I spend the first 20 minutes of the round timer explaining all the things that I can do, and I spend a lot of the time in the rounds being like, hey, if you go here, you're going to do this. And at some point, I have to stop giving them warnings every 5 seconds that this 12-inch bubble exists here, this 12-inch bubble exists here, right? I also don't like that, because from my perspective, these are abilities that I'm paying for, right? So I don't want to create a negative play experience for my opponent, but at the same time, like, what are you supposed to do? I don't know. Eldar is definitively far and above the best faction in the game, bar none, no questions asked. Do not collect gold nuts, but do not collect $200. And an Eldar player that knows how to deal with GSC is basically unstoppable. Yeah. Necron's gonna be freaking fire as soon as we get this stuff fixed. Like,
there was a lot of the rulings were tough over the weekend though, man, because like they ruled something different every day, but that you could pop around a lot was a big deal. You know what I mean? That they went back and forth, because we were originally planning on them not being able to put stuff down first turn again. So.
Honestly, at the rule, I think the event would have been much better and much more fun for everybody involved had they had an FAQ lock, and they would have respected that FAQ lock. They were literally changing rules in a groundbreaking fashion the morning of the event. Like literally twice. They literally had a captain's meeting. They pulled all the captains in, said all this stuff is working this way, got people riled up, and then they came back and said, we don't want to create a bad event, so let's do just captain's votes real quick. Went through the captain's votes, and then the game was still fundamentally different than when we first started. And I attribute that, and I love Sean, and I love I love Shane, and I love Chris, and this is not negative on them, but their judges just don't play the game. They don't have a fundamental understanding of how it goes. When they would make rulings, they were spending a lot more time on basic things than you normally would, because they weren't even like, I had a judge call about whether something could shoot, whether it was touching a ruin or not, right? Stuff like that. So it just creates this really weird experience for players. And it's just have a list lock date, have an FAQ date, right? And that makes things so much better. Or if you're going to have an FAQ drop date like Brian did for Salt City, it was only a permissive change. It was not I'm going to fundamentally change the way that your army operates on the day of the event. It's hey, we've got some clarifications on these things, so we're going to make things better for you, not worse.
But, we did the best we could with it. I mean, we going in, and that's something you have to do when you're preparing for a team tournament. You have to say, hey, the rulings may not go my way. How does that influence our list decisions? And we ultimately decided not to take a demons list because we weren't sure how they were going to rule coming in on turn 1 or not.
Yep.
And that actually affected our decision not to take knights at the last second too, of, hey, are they going to rule very harshly against knights? And we were kind of trying to make our best guesses, and ultimately decided the orcs are probably better because no one is going to touch orcs. No one's going to tell us a thing.
Sometimes you got to YOLO swag orcs.
Yeah.
And I
3
think
days before list submission.
Honestly, I do think that literally all of our pairings would have been better with the inclusion of a demon player. I can't say the same for knights. I think knights, we talked about it, Sean, would have been a lot the same in a lot of the different pairing groups with the custodes thing, and would have created those swings. But I think the demons, especially with the ruling of being able to use the shadow and the warp or whatever, the denizens of the warp strat on turn 1, just fundamentally changes the game's function.
I agreed on that. But I think, weirdly, we were talking shit about it, but like, I actually really like the orcs in this tournament just because people weren't practiced at all against them.
Yep.
And I think that we got some decent pairings with that in there because I think multiple people thought they were just going to body the orcs, and then that just didn't happen.
Nope.
So
orcs are still really, really strong.
Yeah.
Well,
well, the thing was is that we talked, like most of the teams talked about that. I like to get the other people's views on that, because you always want to talk to the other team about how they felt they did. You know what I mean? In the pairings.
Yeah.
But a lot of times they were just like, "Hey, we just thought we were going to smash that orc list," and then we didn't. It just didn't score so much. Like every game, I basically had, 75% of my army was sitting on the shelf there, but scores a lot of points.
Yeah.
Most importantly, you got to have fun, and I heard you make multiple pirate jokes, and Perry was there, and I think you outwawed Perry multiple times.
Indeed, I did.
Oh,
also,
yeah.
I have to give Alan props. Okay, I brought the regular Captain Badrock, and then Alan had made a Badrock for me, which was legitimately 6 inches tall, with a giant face and this huge hat, and it was magical. Just putting that down on the table, just going, what? Like, what even is that? I'm like, it's Captain Badrock, bitches. Most beautiful man alive. Yeah. Those guys were MVPs, by the way.
The flash kits.
Wow, flash kits were bonkers town.
So
Flash kits are probably...
I tried to. Actually, Corey says, I was really hoping you would pair your orcs into GSC last round. I called Nick up and asked him if he would play me, and he said no.
Yeah, their whole plan, literally, he told me from the beginning, was to get me or me into either him or the Death Watch.
The Death Watch, yeah.
They were playing all like serious, like that's 2 years in a row Art of War has directly refused to challenge.
It was so
Hmm.
funny because Nick had also had a couple drinks that night, and I just called
So
him.
Sean, how do you think the meta is shaping up?
So I think where we're going to be at is Eldar is undisputedly the best army, with GSC being the direct, paper to that rock. I think that Custodes and Knights are both a great decision if you know the terrain. If you know the terrain's going to have a lot of line of sight blocking ruins, then I really like Custodes because they have good mission play with one Calatus Assassin and some exaction squads. Or if you don't have, exaction squads, you can't get them. Prosecutors work just fine. For Knights, if you know that potentially the terrain isn't going to be quite up to competitive standards, then Knights definitely will. Towering models will still just shoot you over and over again, and you should take advantage of the fact that you can shoot in your shooting phase and then shoot them again and with Overwatch on their turn.
Guys, I'm gonna table this real quick because I think it's a longer one, and we got a couple super chats that are gonna require Sean to talk.
Oh.
First off, Lyle says, "Can confirm 40K is better when you think your list is fun." The true story.
Fully.
Anna goes, KR put in, thank you, Anna, for KR. KR would like to hear about Sean's last game, as it was a very tactical Custodes game, and he is a huge fan of the Golden Bananas.
Oh yeah, sure, man. So I played Richard Siegler on stream on War Games Live, and you can obviously when I finish telling you about it, you can go watch some of the things I say on Joe's stream. Going in, I felt like I was favored. Again, it's always favored if you can roll 4-ups. So I always have that in my back pocket, which gives me a lot of confidence to know there could be a point in the game where it's supposed to go his way, and I just roll 4s and win the game on the spot. And knowing that allowed me to position in a way that I screen out Deathwatch being able to teleport around the board with all their shenanigans and just aggressively control the middle. And that was kind of my plan from the start, is I knew he was going to try to, shoot me in a way to where I wouldn't be able to hold everything. And I needed to weather one turn and then get into him. What ended up happening is I did hold the middle well, and I got first turn, and I knew it was going to be clutch if I could get rid of a unit of infiltrators. So I just did. And sometimes you have to know, hey, this blade champion plus guard is 325 points, and this infiltrator unit is 90 points. But it was really key for me to get out there, to get the middle, to make him actually have to do something to me, and to open up the space for my Alaris to teleport around. So once I had locked that down, I knew I was in control of the game, and it was up to Richard to do something about it. He responded by killing that whole squad, but very crucially, I knew that he wouldn't have the opportunity to kill all of it if I could, get a cheeky reroll and maybe fail a save on purpose with a command reroll and save the squad. And after that, the primary game of that mission, I think it was hold one, hold more, kill one, kill more.
Screw that mission.
Yeah. So it ended up being great for me because once I started my exaction squads off the board, I knew I stood a really good chance of, basically cutting Richard off from scoring the kill part of that secondary mission, the primary mission. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. You have to know that going in, you're going to be better at this part of the primary or this part of the secondary, and you need to really lean into it. And I felt I was better in the primary, so I made my whole game plan around, I'm just going to tank one turn, and then that's going to be an 8 or 12 point swing in my favor. And I got it twice during the game to win by 20.
Nice. I watched a good chunk of that game. I would say all of it, but Mother Nature hollered at least once. And it was very enjoyable to watch. You guys actually played a very sportsman game. It was really good sportsmanship on both players' behalf, and you really talked things through really, really well. And as someone who hasn't played against Deathwatch yet, I haven't had the opportunity, it was neat to see how you played into his strengths and around them. And because I've played Custodes and I understand Custodes fairly well, but it was a very enjoyable game to watch. I'd recommend to everyone to go to Joe's stream and just take a good gander at that one.
Go to Joe's stream, period.
Best
Yeah,
shout out
best
War Games
40K best 40K game streaming there is, period, bar none.
I was very excited that Joe comes up and just looks at me and goes, I don't understand how this score is a score with my game. Like, what were you even doing over there? You know, stuff and things, Joe. He's like, but there was no guys over on your side. I'm like, you don't need guys. You just need belief. It's orcs. Just gotta believe.
Just gotta believe harder than your opponent.
I'm just gonna score these points. Why? Because I want them.
Just give me the points because I want
There we go. Character, whatever. The $1.99 super chat of thanks, Anna, and great game, Sean. Save $3.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the long-windedness, everybody. If I could boil it down real quick, if you're playing Custodes, be confident. Be confident in what you're doing, because if you don't roll any 4-ups, you're never going to win the game. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to roll some 4-ups and you're going to be able to play.
Well, and the other thing is with that is you talk about that a lot. It's not that simple. You have to plan ahead is a big thing with the Custodes too.
Sure.
You have to be really, pushing your agenda of what exactly you want on the board. So you can't just sit and try to react. It's not a fast enough army to do that.
Yep.
Right, and that's what we're talking about. Is that's the planning, I guess, does come in where you have to know where to make your stand. You have to know where to position to say to your opponent, "Hey, you have to do something about me. I'm big and tough, and I'm here."
That's the time it works every time. Or go with the playmaker. I told every opponent I'm going first and won every roll up. That would have been awesome. I would have liked to do that.
You didn't believe hard enough. If you would have
Didn't
believed hard
believe.
enough,
How did Snigs do with Necrons?
We put Snigs into Necron-y things, and Snigs did fairly well over the weekend. He ground out games. The only thing was we had him in a couple things, and this was the problem with. And I don't really want to throw him on the bus or anything, but this is the problem with us kind of waffling all over the place. It was our fault for not making decisions, but they kept changing the rules so much that we didn't lock down the team because we would have had more time to get all of the matches in. So he ended up multiple people on the team ended up playing matches that they weren't familiar with, and I really feel that with if we got to re-rack those games that we just played, I actually think that we would pull those out. Those players would pull those out. It's like a lot of times just being unfamiliar with something and then learning it after, you know exactly what to do after. We don't want to do that during a tournament. We want to do it before.
Shout out to Alan real quick on that point, teaching me exactly how badass the death mark is. The death marks plus the hex mark destroyer.
I love death marks so much.
So I immediately after that game, Alan, you convinced me. As long as you're watching, you probably watch it later if you're not watching right now. I bought hex marks and a hex mark destroyer because holy crap, that dude shot me 3 times in one turn and killed a squad before it got to activate.
So we got super chat from the Trooper Squirrel. Great seeing everyone this weekend. I had a blast, but Steven dodged me, so we'll have to wait till the next RTT.
Don't worry, boo. I got you.
Man, dodging fool.
So what's everybody's next event?
Nova
For you, that long away, huh?
Well, I have my boss is making me dominate the world.
Something?
So yeah, it's only a month away, but next week I'm in Chicago. The week after I'm in Jersey for half the week, and then Philippines for the rest of the week. So it's going to be very difficult to get to an RTT. Plus, Sean needs to go dominate some RTTs.
So what do you got next, Sean?
I'm kind of trying to help with the local scene and trying to get kind of FAQs in order. I don't know if I'm going to be playing for a little bit. Nothing huge. I really just want to focus on kind of settling out some of the FAQ discussions in my local area.
Are you helping out the play promoter?
They have not asked, and I have not asked them. So the invitation's open if they want it.
So, Brad, what's your next event?
I don't know, because I never really know. But I'm going to Europe in 2 days, 3 days, 3 days.
So he's going to WTC.
Yeah, going over to WTC. Well, no,
I knew what his next event was, but I wanted him to say it.
Yeah,
You should bring it. You should bring that orc army and go play in the singles event.
I thought about
WT.
that, but like,
yeah.
it's a beat up on my body for all this, so I was just like, I wanted to. And Robert from Sweden's been telling me forever, if you're not gonna, take a day off, still do the trip, and don't play it, just relax and just do it. So I'm pretty excited. The Team Sweden guys are great people, and I'm psyched to go to Stockholm. Then we're going to Stockholm and to Belgium for the tournament itself. And I feel that they made a lot of right choices for their lists. So we will see.
And that's the 8-man team variant, which is definitely different from the 5. So it'll be a much more interesting on the pairings and matchups.
Nova's at the end of the month, right? Like,
Yes, it's the first week of it's Labor Day weekend.
yeah, okay, yeah. So I'll be there.
I was about to say, if you're not there, I'm going to be really bummed since we're supposed to be playing in the team.
I was to say
event
we're
together.
playing in a team event together. So I mean,
Granted, we have to find a replacement for Sean since Sean decided that.
boo.
Well, no. In fairness, it's Kelsey's birthday, right?
It is Kelsey's birthday,
So
and
we have to give
I
him
give her the
something.
option, and she declined me going this year, and I went, no problem.
So my great fun is I will be in this upcoming weekend. I will be in Erie, Pennsylvania, doing a small 40-person GT, and I'll be playing Big Bug Nids because I just decided I wanted to go and have wine slushies and drink the entire weekend, which I figured Brad would be all for.
Nothing wrong with
And
that.
the week after that, I will not be around because I will be on a boat getting ship-faced, as a couple people have told me it's called. AKA got the drink package for Cruise Hammer. So that one I'm bringing a slightly more interesting list for Tyranids that I hope is competitive. But of course, I was looking at the roster and saw that Siegler was there, so it's going to be kind of interesting seeing.
You say that
what
Sage
has-
is going to Cruise Hammer?
I think
See,
it's because it's a well, actually now he's qualified, so I don't know.
Is
Yeah.
Cruise Hammer a qualifying event?
I don't know.
Uh,
It's just
I have
he's
no
a
idea.
non-drinker, non-partier guy going on a party.
Maybe he's bringing a significant other.
Well, he also did win when he won the ITC 2 years ago. He won a free trip to Cruise Hammer.
Oh.
So I would assume that he's taking advantage of that. 'cause
Yeah,
WTC
okay.
got back when it was the
There
same
you go.
time.
I'll say
So-
that seems like a good point. Also, free cruise is always nice.
Wait, if you win the free trip to Cruise Hammer, do you get the free cruise?
Yeah.
Oh wow! How do I win a free trip to Cruise Hammer?
I think it's win LVO if I remember correctly.
Oh, that just win LVO. That's all. That's all you got to do.
Easy peasy. Except
Just get the big check and a free cruise. It sounds great.
Fair. I mean,
Everybody should do it.
stupid tournaments. The only one I haven't won. Still mad about that.
go this year. Apparently, you got Siegler now. There's going to be Eye of the Tiger competition going.
I have the tiger.
My odds of back-to-backing that went down a little bit. I would go with significantly.
So I'm going to go back to what I curbed for a second. Now, we were talking about meta stuff, and the meta for a team tournament is so significantly different. It's one of the things I like about team tournaments. I may have said this 1 or 2 billion times, but like you can make very skewed lists. That's why things like Death Watch felt so strong, because you're not going to see that list all the time in a singles list because it's looking to play specific things. Also, you could make lists. One of the things I love about team tournaments is like you make even armies that you typically would bring in singles, you make a better version of them because you just ignore one thing that they were having a little bit of trouble dealing with, be it towering, big knights, big whatever, horde, whatever the hell that is. You just don't play that. And it makes like these super hyper focused lists in team tournaments. And do you think that there's any, besides like things like the Death Watch that don't see a ton of play in singles, is there any other factions that you guys think, or specific armies in factions that get played in teams that don't get played in singles right now?
Tyranids.
Yeah, I think people are sleeping on Tyranids for their ability to score. And
Yeah.
I know I've said it on stream a few times now, but Tyranids pretty strong just in general right now.
Shout
He's
out
got-
to Townsend's list. from thing.
Yeah.
I think that there's a play there that if you built that list the right way for singles, that you could turn that into a seriously competitive Tyranids list. It was very surprising what it was able to accomplish, how
So
well
what
it
was
plays,
this?
and oh, your gosh, I'm going off of memory. If someone wants to look it up, that would be fantastic.
What is
Yeah, I
bugs?
gotcha.
He basically took everything that slows things down. He made 3 biovores. He had 3 or 4 brain
Pyrovore
bugs.
squads.
And yeah, single powerful. He basically was just trying to get in the way and be annoying and basically screw with your movement. And I really enjoyed it. I saw that right away and I was like, ooh, that's not something I want to get into with my all hand-to-hand army.
Here's a really interesting aspect. It is almost impossible to screen out spore mines, right? Well, we say that normally, but it's like, well, hey, if you're taking deploy teleport homers and stuff, but Mr. Townsend, the brilliant genius that he is, did not take dedicated secondaries. He took play secondaries. Why?
I don't understand
because
why.
I can't screen him out if he doesn't. If I don't know what the fuck.
Exactly. Well, that was my thing about it. It's like I just didn't get why people were trying to do set fix and stuff when you could just score anything. You know, it's so big on that. I just think I love tacticals like a lot. I do like Sean's take one out kind of thing because take your opponent's home does feel real shitty when you get it. Also, you know what I didn't know until the tournament because I just assumed because this is how we used to play Maelstrom forever. Apparently, if you can't score something, it just doesn't go away. You just have to throw it away later.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Why? Like we played Maelstrom for multiple editions, which is basically the old version of tactical cards. But if your opponent didn't have any vehicles or monsters and you drew Bring It Down, you just threw it away and drew a new card. Apparently you're just like, cool, I guess I just hang out with this card for a turn. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, and context for everybody, my what Brad's referring to is I think we should have the option to take 2 of the tacticals out of our deck. That was would this not necessarily revolving around competition, but would it be more fun? And I posed this question to several different groups of people, and overwhelming response was yes, it would be more fun. Now, if we're going for just the bare minimum, I think we should probably have the take your opponent's home objective tactical card, go back into the deck if you get it on turn 1, because come on.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
so
I
much,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's nice to get, at least you get a CP for it, but like, in a game which is super close, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I just don't get that. I was just like, I'm playing the Death Watch player with only infantry. It's going to be tougher to score this. So I got to hold on to this? Cool. I'm just going to set this over here and get a CP, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, and your only methods to really get rid of cards in this edition are you can pay 1 CP immediately when you draw it to discard it and draw another one. Or once, yeah, that's why I said once.
Oh.
Or
But you can
at
do
the end of your turn, you can discard all your secondaries for one
for one CP.
For 1 CP.
And you gain 1 CP. Yeah, Eloise was asking about that. It's once a game to do it in the command phase, but it is every turn to just throw one away.
Right.
I do wish that it was better. Like I almost wish the discard 1 and redraw immediately was 1 CP and you could do it any turn, because there are some games where you will have 2 bad draws on turn 1, turn 2, and that level of RNG can just mess up your game, and there's not a lot of counterplay for you as a player to be able to fix that situation.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes you just have to laugh about it. I mean, even on my stream game against Richard, we both got unscorable secondaries turn 1 and just kind of, high-fived each other and kept playing, because that's all you can really do right now.
Yep.
There's not really a good solution right now, and I'm hoping it gets addressed in some way.
I like the idea of take 1 out of the deck, without a doubt. And I have, for my local stuff, personally gone, if the strong, get your opponent's home objective. If you draw it on turn 1, shuffle it back into your deck and redraw.
Ooh, Anna comes in really good on the wall with this one. What if Bring It Down just had the assassinate clause where it scores if you already destroyed all vehicles? I like that.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would like that. I would like that a lot too.
Yeah. Just, you shouldn't be punished for them just not having them. I do love Eloise go, apparently I've been cheating again.
It's okay, Eloise. It's okay. We love you.
Yeah, Eloise, you're a pleasure to play against, no matter what rules you're using.
Matt goes, he goes, it kind of like armies being punished for not building for things like investigate sites, but you can do that. Like, no one's stopping you from that. If you just don't have a vehicle, I can't score it, period.
There are literally armies that you cannot score, capture enemy outpost, or bring it down unless, like, period. Like, against, like, for instance,
you can always capture enemy outpost if you smash them. Even though it's a shitty one, it's still at least playable. If you don't have vehicles or monsters and I bring it down, there is no magical play I can do besides go, would you like a truck? Like, what was I supposed to do? I will give you this truck so I can score some points.
Brad, I don't think that the best strategy for the overall health of the game is to have a secondary that can only be scored if you're smashing your opponent. I don't think that that's what I want to go into the board meeting.
I actually agree with that, except it's still better than you can't do shit. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, the best example for that is against Custodes. If you draw, bring it down, and take home objective, you're never getting that against me. You physically can't get one of them, and it's impossible to take Custodes home objective on turn 1. I'm Custodes. I'll fight you first.
I mean, it's also impossible to take it on turns 2 or 3 realistically.
Yeah. If I don't want you to have it, you're never going to have it. But.
Right. Again, like the GSC thing, if I have a Clanovus and a 20-man squad back there, plus there's probably another 20-man squad that just regrew, you're not taking my home objective.
Right.
You do not have the OC.
It is true. And it goes, hey, Steven, that is how Votan's secondaries used to work. True story. Votan's secondaries in the book were the worst.
Are we trying to make the whole game suffer for the sins of Votan actually having a good book on launch? Because if we are, I'm down for this.
Votan's secondaries. Did you kill absolutely everyone? Then you can score a secondary.
Yes.
You're like, well then, I guess that's how we're rolling here. But what else? We only said the one. You know, what else is good in teams that's not going to get played all the time in singles?
We said CSM. We said Necrons.
Oh, the demon. There's 2 variations of demons that actually I think aren't particularly powerful in singles right now, but are actually very much influence your pairing decisions in a team's event.
I think Thousand Suns personally, but it's.
I'm weird on Thousand Suns because I think that they're stronger than we think they are, but I don't think they are as strong as they think they are.
Wow, that was
a Chinese fortune cookie, me motherfucker.
No, what I'm saying is,
tell me more, Sensei.
They're a very universal army, but they're kind of elite for what they do right now, and they're very vulnerable to a lot of the current meta picks. And I even think that after Eldar and stuff go away, like I don't know, they're not very mobile, so they're very vulnerable to outside of their cool tricks that they have of moving once per turn, and teleporting across the table. It's like they're almost like the Death Guard problem, and they're a little too elite in my opinion currently.
I kind of agree with Thousand Suns a little bit. I actually think they are pretty good in singles. I think there's a lot of just absolutely unfair things you can do. Obviously, those don't really compare right now to GSC and Eldar, but given all the other armies, I actually really like Thousand Suns as a powerful singles army once things get toned down a little bit.
And is it just that? Is Eldar just such a boogeyman in the single side of things that it eliminates some armies from just even being played?
Well, it's because of the fact that they can do so much so safely, and all of their guns are high AP, high damage. So basically, they get 2 to 3 turns of shooting you for free, and you don't get to interact with them.
I think there's also kind of like a little bit of mid-table syndrome where you have knights keeping half of the meta down, making it to mid tables, and then Eldar just wins that matchup very comfortably. So that propels them into the final tables where they play against GSC, who then they play a very close game with or lose by a few points. And that's kind of a little indicative of tournament results where you see GSC winning, first, second, third, and then Eldar fourth, or Eldar never having to play the GSC and getting up there, or Custodians never having to play Eldar and suddenly winning the tournament.
Sorry, never having to play Eldar that is tournament kitted. He played against Eldar,
Sure.
but Wave Serpent Go Burr is generally like if I see a Wave Serpent, I have questions.
You're right. I should clarify the top tier Eldar list and not just somebody
Sean
who
just went
loves to
back
play
in
Eldar.
time for that list. He's like, oh, back in 8th when I was running my serpents all over the place.
Right.
Or he's going to Tacoma.
No! I do like Eloise going, Stephen is philosophical, like a literature student at 4 a.m. after a night of tequila.
Also not wrong. I'll accept that.
Demons, I do not think I think the Monster Mesh is a team style thing, but I do like Kyle's list more. I think the Demons can still be a point scoring machine. Things like Blood Crushers are so insanely good. Flamers are still good. The Changeling is probably the best thing in the army, to be honest with you. That guy is nuts.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that was a decision that Kyle and I made in testing was, man, this list that Kyle played was just, you cannot stop it from scoring. There's almost nothing you can do. And we theory crafted that. We played some games, and Kyle put it into practice at ATC and worked out exactly like we thought. And that was really cool to see, come to fruition, is work on a list, theory, craft it, and then have it work exactly like you want it to. And this mixed up wild meta we're in.
I do think that Kara's right on this. He goes, I think GK sucks in singles. I do think they are overpriced in singles, but I do think they have play in a team event because you can just look for people that are, because a lot of other teams, everybody's trying to get their counter into the thing they're trying to counter. The problem is you got to make sure that your counters have other play into when they don't get the counter. And a lot of people,
I agree with that completely.
I just had multiple people talk about particular things that they brought at ATC, and those players were just like, yeah, we took this, to scare away GSC. We took this to do this, we want to counter Eldar. And then if you don't play those, they're like, hey, I just played a bunch of stuff that I had a bunch of tricks that don't work against not that army. So you have to watch out for that. That's I'm still happy that we brought the orcs on that because it was more of just a counter meta play. And I thought that your version of Custodes, even though you yelled at us the entire weekend about it, let's be honest, everyone, Sean was not super excited about the fact that basically Crawley and I put him in the corner and just yelled at him until he took the list we wanted him to take.
It took 4 lists. I tried 4 times, and finally they're like, no, you're playing this. And they left it in.
I will say this again for the record on stream. When I watched Sean do his practice games with Pedro, I said, you should play your list because you're more comfortable with it. And he said, no, Brad will abuse me in dark ways, but I'm staying in the cabin with him. So I was like, okay, I understand.
I mean, you're not wrong. But the thing is about that, though, is we were trying to focus against certain things, but it had play even if you didn't get those certain things, which I thought was a big deal.
I agree. I do think that Sean said one thing that I do agree with. I think we would have done better had I played on Custodes and Sean played on GSC. We would have had to twist his arm into it. But I think that GSC, being the faction type that it is, that's more not the gotcha aspect of it, but the I'm technically thinking 4 turns ahead functions more to Sean's playstyle, where I'm much more of a reactive in the moment player, which is much more of a Custodes playstyle.
That is true, and that's part of the reason we didn't do that is also part of team tournaments. I don't feel like I could have played the GSC in time. I'm a very meticulous tactical player, and GSC has like 200 models. And I am not the person that's comfortable. Brad's going to disagree with this wholeheartedly. I'm not comfortable just dropping the pile of models over there and saying, you figure it out.
What? What are you talking?
He would never do that.
How would you possibly play then?
I literally did that. Like I did it Brad style, and I would be like, "Hey, can you help me out? Just put the big guns or put the dick guns in front, the big guns behind them, and everything else within 12 inches, and we're good. I don't care past that."
Yeah.
All right, here's what I'm gonna say. Also, Calidus is the best assassin. Fine.
Bar none. Yeah.
Yes.
This is bar none. It's the best one.
It was always that was always the case. It was just whether he was worth 40 points more.
And is he worth 40 points more?
He's
Brad?
worth 40 points more.
Yes.
Thank you. Vect is stupid.
Look,
when
man.
I vected the Eldar player, the blue screening that occurred at the end of each of his turns was just the most glorious thing ever. Because he's like, I'm gonna.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yes.
Until you're the player literally just realizes that Phantasm's so much better than Fire and Fade, and just goes, screw you.
No, I vected Phantasm. So
Yeah.
they forget that Phantasm's vect on their
No,
turn
but that's
because
my
they're like,
point.
I got to do the Fire and
sorry,
Fade play.
I would just be like, it looks like I'm just not Fire and Fading. I'll just Phantasm.
Yeah. KR points out, I did say on stream and kind of let everybody know a preface of our inside, our internal team conversation where I just, Richard's like, so the Eversor, and I was like, yeah, he sucks. He's just really bad. I got strong armed into this.
You got Scout 9, bitches.
Yeah, honestly, and that is actually a good point. Is he goes, well, what does he do? And I was like, he's Scout 9, and that was it. That's all he did, pretty much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this stream and you want advanced tactical knowledge, take what I say with a grain of salt, because like 70% of the time I'm right and Brad's wrong, but he won't listen to me. So therefore, listen to Brad, and then just wish that you would have listened to me.
Whatever. Well, I literally come out with, I've been wrong and I'll be wrong again. Your key is, I've been wrong and I'll continue to be wrong. Yes, I gave Sean the poor man's assassin.
Yeah, how it goes is Carly and Brad fight, and I get hit. They throw a punch, and instead of going at each other, it just hits me over and over again.
both of us
Because
just
you have a Justin Bieber face.
Yes,
That's true. Very punchable.
Your face is very, very.
It's like
punchable.
a magnet for punches.
And if you guys don't understand, literally Sean's card for the team event said Bieber on it.
It did say Bieber Custodes, and they were very confused. But it's okay. We got there.
You can play the crip all you want, KR. The problem is that I'm proving that I'm right. Brad's just saying that I'm wrong. Anybody can say that.
Whoa. I got a clip of you saying you're wrong, and we did it
Oh,
again.
yes.
Oh,
You can enjoy that clip to your heart's content. I'll continue to.
that's how I go to
correct.
sleep. I just play that on loop.
Oh.
And the thing is that was one of the few things that I was that we looked at. I wish we would have got a couple in the future, in the future, 40K. In our team events moving forward, I think we had to get a few more reps in with what we were playing against certain things.
Yeah.
And really talk through the thing. And the thing is like, yes, Vect ended up being a bigger thing, but it's certain armies that it's big, you know what I mean? And other ones, it's just, I didn't care, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, I mean. So.
Well, I mean, I would say in hindsight, to be completely honest, the aspect of our practicing was a very, very much influenced by the fact that we switched factions literally a week before. Because at the point that we switched factions the first time, I was like 60 games deep in Knights. You were like 40 games deep in Eldar. Sean was
playing everything
to try to figure out, see what stuck against the wall. So we were in this really unique spot where we had to make last second changes for all of us. And I don't think that was advantageous for us, where a lot of the other teams were decided months ago what their team comps were, because they weren't as influenced by the more recent changes.
Yes.
I mean, we had last second.
I was too busy looking for a Princess Bride meme for you know that I know that you know. And
No, that's dodgeball. That's why you got it wrong.
what do you mean dodgeball?
That's dodgeball.
Are you
literally
high on crack cocaine?
No, it's the dodgeball meme.
Next thing you know, you're gonna start doing a land war in Asia. It is so
Yeah,
not
while
just
there's
dodgeball.
dodgeballs being thrown over there, KR says Exaction Squad's going up to like 80 points guaranteed. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute and say they do not need to be 80 points. There are so many factions with very cheap units, and if we're just going to say no one can have cheap units, that's fine. But arbitrarily taking one unit to a certain points cost versus another, I don't like that at all. Crude Hounds are 30 points, and they do basically the same thing. You start them in reserve, they walk in, they score your secondary. If you want,
hits Tau, one of these hits all of Imperium.
and as soon as you nerf Exaction Squads, Custodians aren't going to change. They're just going to take Prosecutors and do the exact same thing. What's another cheap? Nurglings. Nurglings still exist and do the same thing. So unless we're going to take points and just say there's a minimum cost that a model is, a unit is 50 points or something, then I don't think we need to do that. Now, if we need to restrict how many Agents of the Imperium you take further, I'm all for that. I'm all for just saying you get 1 and 1. One character, one.
No, we just need to gut the absolute crap out of the Exaction Squad. If it's competitive, it needs to get nerfed. Quote if GW.
Quote, it's GW. You know what? We're ending
quote
it.
GW.
And the Raven, nevermore.
And the Raven.
All right, kids, we're gonna rock out now, and I'm gonna turn this big bright light off my face, so because I'm hating life right now, and we're gonna do this in the happiest of happy ways. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to these bums underneath me for being on my team over the weekend, and Horton, I always have thanks for you because you do stuff, and it's awesome. So everybody, thanks for chilling with us.